It's the fan phone in. Good to have you all along with us. We're here in the off season doing these. We did them last season, didn't we? Before the season even started. Only before we were doing them on Twitter. But with me, as always, is my co-host. It's Mark Ryman. How are we getting on, Mark?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, we did do them, didn't we? In the summer, I think we had a relatively early signing of Shannon Baptiste and started doing them from
Oh,
there,
what
and
a
thought we were going to have
signing!
a busy summer.
What a
I
signing
know,
he
right?
was.
And thought we were going to have quite a busy summer of phone-ins, and then that was it for like a month. So I'm a bit reticent to say it's going to be a much busier summer, but it really has to be, right? So I imagine we'll have a fair bit to talk about on a weekly basis between now and August when we start the season. But yeah, I'm good. It's been a sunny weekend, as you can probably see from my complexion. I've tried to wear a red t-shirt to kind of blend in, but I don't think it's worked very well. Never mind.
Yeah,
It's
you
nice to be sunny.
you look like Alan Brazil, mate, just with more hair.
Gosh. Cheers, mate.
Only Alan Brazil doesn't stay out in the sun. He just looks like that naturally.
I was yeah. Thanks for that comparison. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I'll have to probably have quite a few more drinks before I turn into that man. But
I know.
yeah,
Absolutely. It's hard to believe that he was once upon a time like a peak athlete.
I know.
It's mad.
Yeah, but in the 70s, I don't know. I don't want to be too OTT, but I'm pretty sure that the kind of training regime in the 1970s was not quite as rigorous as it is now in football, right?
No, absolutely not. It was a case of, neck a couple of pints before a match and then
Yeah.
go from there. Um,
I mean, we were both around for yeah, players like Tony Adams, for example, and that wasn't even that. It was long ago now, but that was 90s, and that was still those days, right?
oh, yeah. And then Arsene Wenger came in. He completely revolutionized everything. Um, Yeah. Oh, before we forget, a quick congratulations to the Luton Town ladies doing the double. The men team did the double as well. They did double relegation, whereas the ladies team, they went ahead. They won. I think
Yeah,
it's the League Cup. Fair play.
League
That's
Cup, yeah.
massive against Stevenage.
Mm.
Absolutely dominated, and they've won the league. Fair play. With a game to spare as well, and there's some real competition there. So fair play to them. I'm sorry if it's stuttery as well. I think my computer needs a bit of time to warm up. I don't know if that's how computers work. This is not technical difficulties. This is part and parcel of live streaming. It will get better. I can assure you.
Yeah, and just to say, yeah, absolutely fantastic for the ladies. They got two trophies in one day because of their achievements in the league and the cup. It's amazing, and absolutely fair play to them. It's great, and hopefully the club put out a little bit more than the one post they've done so far to celebrate it as well, because we need to get behind our women's team, and as they rise up the leagues, hopefully it'll only get more and more eyes and followers on them as well. So yeah, brilliant, and obviously as a channel, we Matt in particular does a lot in terms of interviews and shows on those. So yeah, keep an ear out, keep an eye out for those, especially now they've won both of those. We said it was going to be a Q and A, so we did obviously we did our podcast. We recorded on Friday, got released yesterday, I believe. In terms of our reaction to the retained list, but it'd be great to have people's questions or opinions on that as well. So please join in there.
Yeah, we can see you all watching. So if you want to jump on, you can jump on. If you want to just drop something in the chat, drop something in the chat. Because otherwise this will be a very short phone in. Naturally, we'll probably do weekly phone ins, round up signings and
Yep.
whatnot. There's no need to jump on. I think last time we were jumping on every evening after a signing, weren't we?
Yeah, but there wasn't that many, so yeah, we said yeah, there was quite a big gap, I think, between Shannon Baptiste and Royal Waters, who was the next one. I'm pretty sure, anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
And they took their
But yeah,
sweet time to announce Ruel Walters as well. That was
they,
a really
yeah,
weird one.
they did.
Yeah, yeah.
Y-
But there's a lot of
Yeah,
work that needs to
I
be
mean, you
done now. That, like we discussed the
100%.
retain list, and now they need to start manoeuvring players out the club. You know, tearing up contracts, paying off contracts, sending people to the glue
Mm.
factory, leaving people in the middle of fields miles and miles away from civilization. All these avenues they could explore. I guess we'll
Yeah,
see.
all of those options. I think yeah. I think as soon as well the windows when the window is properly open after the end of June, it'll be a lot busier there, won't it? And I think the negotiations will be in place. It'll be good to see Cal signed up quite quickly. It looked from the statement as if that was something in the works. I mean, it would be odd to have worded it that way if there wasn't something behind the scenes going on there. So I imagine he will likely be the first thing incoming. Obviously, there was an article linking, well, not really linking Asgard to anyone, although there's a couple of things about Birmingham. um but I think just that his international coach has said that if he wants to keep playing for Norway, he needs to be at a higher level than League One. um so it was always going to be the height of the rumors is going to be around Asgard. You can probably you can probably count our players that will attract a lot of attention on one hand, right? And he was always going to be top of that list, so not really surprising, I guess. Um, I just think with that one, you know, we see what happens, but we have to learn the lessons from last season. If he wants to go, let's make money on him, and we'll have to sell him as much as we want to keep him. And I've seen people say that Gary needs to put out a statement and keep him whether he wants to go or not. That can't happen. We tried doing that last season, and look where it ended us. So we've got to have players in there, right, that want to play for the club as much as I'm desperate to keep him.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, sorry if I don't know what's happening with in terms of the stream. Drop a thumbs up if it's all right. I have no idea. Let me know. Let me know. Because you know it's always a case of my internet is plays up when I don't want it to play up. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Asgard is the only one that actually is worth anything, in my opinion. Maybe Mark McGuinness as well. Um, but in all fairness, as well, not to play devil's advocate regarding Thello Asgard, yes, he started that game, but let's not pretend he was playing against like England or like a good team. They were playing against who was it? Armenia or one of those rubbish teams. So yeah, and then
Yeah,
he got dropped for the next game.
exactly. I mean, he's going to struggle in a very good Norway side anyway. But you know, if he's ambitious, he's a young kid. He's ambitious. Well, he's relatively young, and he wants to get in the side more. It's a difficult thing if he's being told that. Who knows how true that is? But you can understand from his point of view if he wants to keep playing. I mean, look, let's be honest. As a neutral, he should be playing at least championship football,
I
right?
thought you were about to say
There's no
Champions League.
way. Yeah, I nearly did by accident because I've just been it's been on this week. But yeah, no, no, I wouldn't go that far. But no, he needs to be playing championship football, doesn't he? Really, if you were to look at it outside looking in, so you can understand it. I hope that I hope that he still wants to prove himself at Luton for at least another season and see where we're at. And you know the trajectory is sold to him, but you know, like we've said, if he doesn't, then that's the case. I'm seeing on the comments that the stream is going very, very slowly. That's not just me talking. I think that's just generally the stream's going slowly. I'm not sure what's going on there, but I'm sure Ollie's on it.
I don't
If
know
you
what
can
to
hear
do.
us,
I honestly don't know what to do.
I was. I was trying. I was trying to just give you some time, but yeah, right, fine.
I
Ollie's
don't know.
not
I
on it.
don't know what to do other than turning my computer off and restarting it. I don't know. Have you tried turning it
Right.
off and on again?
Uh,
I don't know.
have you? Yeah. Well,
Like if I try
yeah,
turning it off and on again, like the stream will end, won't it? I don't know.
yeah.
I
No.
don't
Well,
know what's
if you can
happening.
hear us, that's a good start. I mean, we did have the question about Asgard came up just as I was speaking about it, and yeah. So Mark Cheaton's mentioned he's only got his foot in the Norway door after leaving Wigan, not like he's established. So like you said, yeah, and that's true, definitely. So it's going to have an impact, but we'll see how much. I think. We've got to we've got to be able to try and keep hold of our best players. Of course we do. But if he doesn't want to be here, then for me that is absolutely lessons need to be learned from last season on that, and he needs to go. But yeah, so as long as the sound's okay, we can keep plodding on, I guess.
It might
Yeah.
catch
So
up. Like the
yeah,
video,
it might
the
be.
video might catch up. I don't know. It did this last week. I think it was, you know, it was stop start. It looks like it's plodding along. It sort of looks like a little bit of a slideshow, like a PowerPoint, doesn't it?
Oh, great. I can't see it on mine. It won't load at all. Greg Davis, not that one, I don't think. If it is the stand-up, then welcome to the chat. After seeing how bad the level is at playoff level this season, do you think you will go up next year? So obviously not Luton fan. Go on, I'll let you have a go at that. What do you think for next year? It's almost impossible at the moment, isn't it, to make any predictions? But how do you think we do? What's the gut feel?
It's really difficult because we sort of thought, you know, being the leading team from the three that went down, we thought, oh yeah, okay, we'll be all right. There'll be a learning curve, but at the same time, we'll be all right. I don't know. We could go down. We could storm the league. We could go down and be bottom three again. Who knows? Who knows with
Yeah.
us? It depends entirely on this summer moving out players. Like there was an article in I think the Times from Martin Samuel that was put on the Discord, and honestly, I could quote it because it's thoroughly depressing. The stuff that Martin Samuels was saying. So what has happened at Luton Town this season is failure. Not that it's being framed as such. Now that football has been reshaped by the least imaginative as one big sustainability exercise, Luton Town even seek praise for a second straight relegation. The backdrop of our custodianship of the football club is financial stability, the club CEO Gary Sweet said, having crashed straight through the Championship into League One. It's an absolute cornerstone. The club was unstable. It's more stable now than it probably has ever been, financially and structurally. Yes, but also relegated. Despite talents like Tahith Chong, that's funny, and they have a picture of Tahith Chong like lifting up his shirt, and he has like a little tummy as well. Have you seen that? Like,
I've not looked too closely into the picture.
it's
I think
hilarious.
I know
It's Tahith Chong like lifting up his shirt with like a little tummy. Like honestly, I'm more defined than him. You know, the only six pack I've got is in my fridge. Yes, but also relegated. Despite talents like Tahith Chong, Luton Town endured bad times before, then became the first club to reach the Premier League from the National League. That journey was hugely admirable. The past, however, does not simply make any season in which a club do not fold a success. And I think that is a very important point. Because essentially, if we're celebrating, yay, we didn't fold this season, can you believe it? That is a terrible measuring stick to go for a season. Yay, we didn't fold. Yeah, do you remember when we were playing Hide Away a couple of years ago?
Like, well, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what's
it's
interesting. What's funny? I'll just tell a little story before. Sorry for interrupting. So in my new job, funnily enough, one of the people, I think I told you this, one of the people I work with on like a semi-regular basis, one of my clients, is the former Eastbourne Borough manager. And when I met with him, we got talking about things, and he said, yeah, I managed against Luton Town 4 times. And they were part-timers. So I think it's very insulting to Hyde to keep saying, oh, yeah, do you remember when we were playing Hyde? I think it's worth saying, yeah, when we were playing Eastbourne Borough, those bunch of part-timers earning 130 quid a week.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, going back to the point you were making about that, it's we were saying this in our last show, link in the chat, I'm sure, that you know, the failure to read the room is still there from the board. It's amazing. Even in the Wilkinson statement, it says it. And this idea of, you know, we're a financially stable club. None of us are underestimating the importance of that. None of us have forgotten, you know, what happened with the 30 points. But it can't forever be the guide stick for any form of failure. That at least we're not there. At least we're not under Gurney anymore with manager Idle. I mean, that cannot constantly be given as an excuse. We've lost everything that made us the team that got us up, and you know, I think everybody's biggest worry is not just who we sign and who we let go. It's what's happened to the culture and how are we going to get it back. Bloomfield's a good start, but it has to be further towards the top for me as well. Yeah,
Yeah, well,
crazy
Gary ain't
inability to
going
read the room.
anywhere. Gary is not
Yeah, no,
going anywhere.
no. Again, we discussed that, and I agree with you. I don't think he is either, and um, there just needs to be far more transparency on and open communication events that happen throughout the season and before it, if they really want fans to get on board. Because as you've said a couple of times, and I'm sure most people know, you know, if we struggle, particularly in the first few games, it will go toxic, as it did in non-league, as it did. It didn't take long, did it, for fans to turn, and that was against a club legend in Mick Harford, without even a particularly bad record either.
No,
And
he
look how
lost
toxic that
twice.
got.
Twice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and that's it. Imagine how bad it will get under Bloomfield very, very quickly. So it's got to be a lot of reparation done over the summer between the board and the fans as well. So no, I think we both pretty much agree on this one. Hopefully the stream is starting to work a little bit now. Um, but
Speaking about reparations between the board and the fans, I think it's going to be a case of hide away. I think, to quote that Oasis song, I think they're going to be
I
hiding
hope not.
away. They're not going to be anywhere near. Sorry, I'm battling with a fly here. So if you see me start like jerking around, it's because there's a fly that's really irritating me. The perils of working outside.
I know. Well, they're clearly professional setup we've got here, right? B Hatter said, "Is Mengi definitely going?" I mean, obviously we don't
Yeah,
know, but I mean, for
he's
me,
going.
he is the epitome of what went wrong on the pitch, at least this season, from a
Yeah.
playing point of view. He's got to be going. There's no way that man's staying. It's a waste. It's such a shame because he was so positive. Richard Dixon, you must be worried about next season without parachute payments. We still have
Yeah,
parachute
well, we
payments. I
got
don't know where this has
we
come
got
from.
two more seasons of parachute
Yeah,
payments. So essentially, parachute payments are paid
well,
at the
sort of,
end
yeah.
of the year. Parachute payments are
I
paid at
no,
the
I
end of a season. So essentially,
no.
if a team goes up first time of asking, they don't receive parachute payments. The payment goes back to the
Yeah,
solidarity
that's
payment
right.
of the
Yeah.
of the Premier League. So essentially, we get our parachute payments, which will be about 50 to 60 million pounds next year. But I think a lot of that is earmarked for the ground. So it's not like we're going to be dropping 50 mil on players. Plus, we're going to have to pay off players. We're going to have players on wages that we can't move off. So that 50, 60 million pounds, that's going to go pretty damn quickly. It won't all go, but we've
Yeah.
also got to with moving players out, we got to we've got to move players out, and we might have to pay off contracts, tear up contracts. That costs money, but we've also got to buy players in, and that could be in excess
Yeah.
of £10 million. Look
Yeah,
at
and we're going to be
Birmingham.
in big
Birmingham spent
competition.
10 mil on one striker.
Yeah, well, exactly the example I was going to use. I mean, Birmingham just going up to the Championship now. You look at most promoted teams, most years, if we were, say, in League One the season prior, then the teams that had just gone up were Plymouth, Oxford, and Portsmouth. No, sorry, Plymouth was still there, weren't they? It was Oxford, Derby, and Portsmouth that went up. But you would say that you'd have a fighting chance against those teams if you were both bidding for the same player as Luton. Maybe not so much Derby with the money that's probably coming in from Clouds now, but most of the time. But now you look at Wrexham and Birmingham as two of the three teams coming up, and who knows on the third. We're going to really find it difficult to attract players to essentially either stay at a level or drop down a level, which is what we're going to need, because we're not going to pay 10 million, like Birmingham did. Of course, we're not, for one player. Um, so that in itself is going to be really, really tough.
Yeah, and we're going to have to look for a completely different profile of player based off the league we're in. If we were in the Championship, it kind of would have been cut and dry. You just take League One's finest because that worked from our January signings with Ali and Asgard. Now, where do we go? We can't really go for League One's finest because League One's finest will be going to the Championship.
Correct. With Birmingham and
Yeah,
Wrexham under a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
money.
They played a lot of them, so they'll be like, oh yeah, I like the look of that guy. What I hope is that Wrexham pick a few of our players. Like, I'd love it if they signed the likes of Carlton Morris, Tahith Chong, Corley Woodrow. I'd love that. They're not going to
Corley
be. They're not
Woodrow
going to be dumb
rumoured
enough to
to be
do that.
going to Wrexham.
He was, but I don't think they're
No,
going to be dumb
he
enough
was,
to
wasn't he?
do that.
Yeah,
Richard Dixon makes a good point. TV revenue does drop. It
yeah,
drops from £8 million a year in the Championship to £1 million solidarity payment
yeah.
in League One. So there's a shortfall of 7 million. I think the parachute payments will make up for that though, which is absolutely fine. But the club need to improve commercially in terms of making sure shirts are available for people to buy. Not that we got many overseas fans knocking around anymore. There are very few that are still knocking around. I have respect for the ones that are still around here.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can bring one in actually.
For example, yeah,
Yeah.
I was
For
waiting for that.
for example, a perfect segue. Right. I'll bring in Christian to the chat if my computer allows me to. It's a bit laggy. Come on, computer. There we go. Dragged him in. So yeah, we have a Yankee Doodle on the line. I don't know if that's offensive. Christian, who started supporting us when we were promoted to the Premier League, and he has seen 2 relegations in 2 years. I reckon Christian's cursed. How are you getting on, Christian? Good evening.
Oh, not bad at all. Before I go on my thoughts, just want to give a quick correction to you, Ollie, and I'm not trying to
Oh,
say I know
okay.
better than you. Um, Promoted side, so let's just take Burnley for example. Since they are promoted, they do obviously not get their parachute payments. That money does not go into the solidarity payments. They go to EFL clubs.
No, I said
That's
I
redistributed
said
through
it
clubs.
goes to the Premier League. It goes to the Premier
Yeah,
League solidarity payment. It's the same thing. It's a solidarity payment that happens within the Premier League, so that money just gets distributed amongst the Premier League.
yeah, which to me is a total load of crap. But
It's
I mean, we have
capitalism, baby. Capitalism.
we have the richest football pyramid in the world,
Do you in
located in a
America?
country where if you're in League One, you're always in danger of going out of business. Take Bury, take Bolton, um, take Reading, I guess, although they keep getting extensions, so who knows what's going to happen with them. Um, but we're in line to get right about £100 million over the next 2 years. Obviously, the parachute payment this season, 55 million. Parachute payment next season is 45 million plus 11.1%. Parachute payment from the EFL for getting relegated from the championship. It all comes about 100 million, in addition to what we got for TV revenue last season. We really don't have any excuse to not make a challenge, not make some signings this summer to try to get back to the championship. We have no excuse. We have the financial resources to do it, even with a lot of it being earmarked towards power court or towards paying off players, whatever. I mean, we're still gonna have quite a bit of money laying around, and I think we got rid of some players we needed to. Tim Krul, I mean, the guy never played. He, he was not the keeper he used to be. That much is very obvious. I think we're gonna need to get rid of a lot of other players. Tahith Chong, he's not the player that he was at Birmingham. Coley Woodrow is well past it. Name a player you can probably think of why they need to go. Um, so hopefully over the summer will be full of some business that maybe Wrexham takes some players of ours. I don't see Birmingham taking any of our players because they are making signings with the intention to probably go right into the Premier League next season. So,
Well, will you support Wrexham next season? Switch fairy tales.
No, because Wrexham is not a fairy tale whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have more money than God behind you, I mean, you're gonna get promoted.
Well, they're not.
I mean,
They're not
Birmingham has one
sponsored. They're not sponsored by. They're not owned by like super duper duper wealthy people. Like, yeah, Ryan Reynolds is obviously very wealthy. Rob McElhenney has TV money. I think the bulk of their money comes from like sponsorships and all the associated hanger-ons that Ryan Reynolds brings with him. I don't think they're like pumping in their money into the club. As far as I understand it, obviously they laid out some money for a new stand and they laid out money to buy the club in the first place. But I think everything is just organic revenue that they're generating just because of the awareness that they brought to the club through their. Whoa, that's a big fly! Just bringing awareness
That may be
from from the TV show.
and that may be so, but they're operating with a lot more financial freedom than many other sides in the leagues that they've been in can be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you take the National League. Now, 10, 12, 15 years ago, the National League was a mix of professional sides that have been relegated from the Football League, part-timers, and amateur clubs. Now the National League is pretty much fully professionalized. And even with that, you still have these clubs that don't really have a whole lot of financial freedom. Wrexham, from the jump, have had way more financial freedom, and that allowed them to sign Paul Mullen into the National League when he was in League One with Cambridge. I mean, they're not spending a boatload of money like Burnham, sure, but they have far more freedom and have a far easier path than many other clubs in their divisions.
Yeah, well, like financial fair play is a lot more loosey goosey. In National League, League Two, League One, that they'll really come up against it in the Championship. They will.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not certain Wrexham will survive more than a couple seasons in the Championship unless they really lay some money down. But listen, I think it's becoming a money game, and Luton have some money now. So unfortunately, we're going to have to start putting our big boy pants on and start splashing some cash.
Very wise words.
The path back up just is not going to be full of signing players for cheap. We're going to have to start spending some of the money we have, and I really hope the board recognizes that. I really do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Very wise words. Christian, thank you for joining us, mate. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you, Christian.
no problem. Good to see you.
We'll catch you on the next one. Ryman, would you like to do the honours? Because my oh wait, there we go. Oh yeah, you done it. There we go. Yeah, sorry, I'm getting attacked by.
A little bit?
No, well, it's a combination of getting attacked by flies and.
I was just going to bring
laptop.
in the question from Phil, based on what Christian was saying. Would you both be in favour of Mick Harford stepping away from the head of recruitment role? Seems to be immune from criticism because of his legendary status. I mean, yes, probably. I think recruitment has been very poor. I think you mentioned it that there's a strong correlation between how good recruitment was and when Nathan Jones was here. It isn't just this example where recruitment's gone badly. Look at some of the dross we signed under Graham Jones, for example. That's the same recruitment team, pretty much. So it's a fair point. And based on what Christian said about money being invested, look, I think the money also has to go behind the scenes. We have to expand on both our recruitment, our strength and conditioning, whatever you want to call it. Basically, let's not have players get injured and stay injured for the whole season team. and as well as people on the pitch, and that does that involve McArthur stepping down? I think that his role has been, from what I've heard, has been relatively reduced this season
Well,
anyway.
he's not a well man. He's recovering from
Exactly.
cancer.
Yeah.
Quite aggressive. Kate is not fly 3, Ollie 0. I've killed like 2 flies this evening. I mean, don't get on me, Peter. Or PETA. Don't at me. Yeah, but I don't like the flies flying around in my. It's a no fly zone here. He's not a well man, and football has moved. Football has moved on. Like we still have Blades Analytic or Jay Sochik here in the building.
Yep.
We have that new guy Yusuf Sajjad who does a lot of work on it as well. But ultimately, everything's been lacking, as you said, as I said before. You know, since Nathan Jones has gone, and we're really missing a. It's generational when you get a manager like Nathan Jones in a club and it all clicks, you know, and a lot of that. He worked us. He worked very well for us, and it worked really well for. It's working really well for Charlton as well. Like the second half of the season they've had, and it sort of put a plaster on like how Luton Town have gone up the leagues, and a lot of that credit. When Nathan Jones said it's like someone else walking your daughter down the aisle, everyone laughed, but that is the reality of it. It really is. And people have said to me when I've said Rob Edwards took up a Nathan Jones side, now people are coming around to it. And Gary Sweet took a lot of the credit for what Nathan Jones did, because he laid the fundamentals. Well, he built on the fundamentals that John Still put in place, and he built them up a lot. Made them a lot more solid.
Oh, yeah. All I would say to that is that you know my view on this, and I think that he wouldn't have taken us up that season. That's my view. I don't think he would. I don't think he'd have taken us up in the season that McArthur took over either. But all I would say, regardless of your view on it, is that, you know, we didn't oust him from the club. He chose to leave both
he
times.
left twice.
Both terrible decisions. You know, exactly. So, you know, he can. The reason why I laughed when he said that is that, you know, he made his own bed with Southampton, who were doomed when he went there. Clearly, he was completely the wrong decision, and yeah, and hey, he could have done it. He could have done it. I just, yeah. You're certainly right that he built the foundations, and particularly importantly, he built the culture of our club that we know now on what John Still did. So he built it further from that, and it does feel like, as it probably would have done if Graham Jones had stayed any longer, it feels like that has ebbed away a lot, and that's going to be a really difficult thing to get back now. It was hard enough in the Championship, in the situation we're in. I think that was always the difficulty. You know, the culture of the club has always been built on, you know, players that are desperate to fight to play for Luton. And of course, if you've got money and you've come down from the Premier League or now from the Championship and the Premier League, it's going to be really difficult to be able to oust out the players like Tahith Chong and Mengi and people like that are only in it for that reason. That's a very difficult thing to get back, because we're just not the same team we were last time we were in this division.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And just back onto Mick Harford as well. I do feel that the title head of recruitment, I think it's kind of like an honorary title, if anything. I don't want to say job to the boys, but he is one of the few Hatters alumni pre-2020 that's actually liked by 2020. Because there are a lot. Like, there are a lot of players that aren't. The red carpet isn't rolled out for the likes of Ricky Hill or Brian Steen.
Why do you think that is?
I know
because they are fans of the club.
No, they are. I know exactly why it is. It's not for discussion on a. It's not for discussion here. I can tell you afterwards, but there are reasons. There are reasons, because obviously both of them have been involved in the club as coaching staff in the past, and a manager, and they have had their presence on merchandise in the past as well. They are two of the most famous players that have played for Luton Town. But even the likes of
Yeah.
Marvin Johnson, he's not welcome back. Um, a funny one was when Lars Elstrup turned up for a Luton Town tour, and Gary Sweet like left a meeting to go and give Lars Elstrup a hug. You know, someone he'd never met before, and someone that left the club in, I'd say, quite
Interesting
in
circumstance.
interesting circumstances, where he essentially
Let's
said,
go with interesting.
I'm going to leave for a free if you don't sell me for this price." And he was at that point our top goal scorer, and one of our most important players. There's a lot of beef.
Yeah.
There's a lot of beef with a lot of former players, but Mick Harford is one of the ones that is actually liked by Gary Sweet. So I feel it. There is a sort of jobs for the boys going on. Mick obviously does have an eye for talent. I think the last one he made a point of pointing out was Joe Taylor. I guess we didn't see much of Joe Taylor, but he said Joe Taylor would go right to the top of the game, wouldn't he?
And you can see why. You can see his potential. I know that he hasn't done it for Huddersfield this season, but you could definitely see why. And look, I would say this with Mick as well. You know, there are a lot of egos about, sadly, and you know, and Mick for me has never come across. I've met him a few times. Certainly never come across as one of those. He is someone that I would like to see around the club as much as possible. However, because I think he has a positive impact. I don't know anybody who's been around Luton Town who has a bad word to say about him. So you know, it's great that he's still there. But yeah, recruitment is certainly an area that we need to look at. And as you say, he is not well, and he can't be expected to do the job as the title suggests in the same way. But yeah, it's interesting. We'll leave it there. And in terms of the board's links with former players or that thereof, but yeah, sad to see it. Matt says ideas on how much it would cost to buy the likes of Nakamba.
This is a very interesting one. So
Yeah.
I just did some calculations, and let's say, because you have to negotiate a payoff with a player. It's not a case of saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to pay off your whole contract." You negotiate. Let's say we're paying off Nakamba at the rate of £15,000 a week. I calculated that to be £780,000. If you can negotiate an even lower pay off like 1/3 of his contract per week. Obviously, agents push for even more. What is the message from Kate here? I think she's going to say that the internet has gone, or something like that. Well, my laptop is very laggy right now.
Okay. Well, I mean, while you find out if it's still working or not, I'd just say how sad it is for me that Nakamba hasn't worked out. I was so excited about him. He just seemed like a genuinely good bloke. He was amazing for us in the Championship when he was on loan. And obviously, you know, overshadowed by Lokonga when he was fit. And you know, I think it's had a massive impact on him. So it's just a sad one. It's not like players like Mengi and Chong that you think, yeah, the quicker they get out, the better. Nakamba's a sad one. Clearly needs to go because of the amount of money he's on. But it just what could have been, I think, is my thought with him, because he was, when he was at his best in that promotion season, he was absolutely incredible as a defensive midfielder.
Yeah, and that was the peak of his time at Luton Town. Really, since then he's been absolutely
loved at Villa as well.
Yeah, they like him because he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy, but you know, his time at Luton.
Well, I think he was good for them in the Championship as well, wasn't he? When they got promoted there, he was brilliant. I think they struggled with his passing range when he got to the Premier League.
I don't know if he was there in the Championship for them. It seems we're having technical difficulties. Yeah, I have no idea. I thought they signed him from Club Brugge or from a Champions League team, didn't they?
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's one to look at. But rest assured, I don't think Marvin Nakamba will be back with us next season. Yeah, we've done about 40 minutes and the internet seems to be really bad. What I'm going to do in future for these, I'm going to hard reset right before I start. So my computer is fresh as a daisy. How about that? Does that sound like a good idea?
I think we need to start a Just Giving page for you to get a new computer. That's what I think we need to do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just to make sure.
Well, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. But
No,
I
I
won't.
agree.
I won't
That's a
say no
terrible
to.
idea.
Yeah, it's a terrible idea. Absolutely terrible idea. Right. Well, we'll try and sort out sponsorship, and maybe that'll buy us a couple of cameras and a new computer. I think that's probably a good time to sign off, isn't it? Yeah, sorry to everyone watching. It's always the way, isn't it? You want to just jump on, do a stream. We'll be back next Sunday. I don't know. We can round. There might be some news by then, wouldn't there, Ryman? Possibly.
Yeah, there's gonna be lots of news at some point, definitely. But whether it's for next week, we'll see.